All right. Well, hopefully that one will come up and play. Yeah, now I have chat. I didn't have chat before. I don't know what the deal was, but now I have chat because I can't see the chat over on the computer. So I'll let people get in. And let's see. All messages. There we go. So I worked on this last night, and that gave me the idea. I really like how the flowers came out in the field. And so that gave me the idea of trying to do like a Texas bluebonnets. And I'm going to use the stamps. I did carve the stamps from last week's stream. So I'm going to use the tissue from these. I'm going to print another one of this here in just a few minutes. But I'll show you what they look like. Here's the first one I stamped in a navy, and then here's this one stamped in kind of a purple color. I also stamped it in a brown. That's what I'm using today, is parts of this right here. So hello to all of you coming in. I did a little sketch ahead of time and pulled out some of the stuff, the tissue. I did find this for the green, but I'm not sure I'm happy with it. So I want to print a green using this stamp. But before these like kind of blow away, I want to glue. I sketched my little house in here. Let me zoom in. Hi, Christy. Let me zoom in. That's a little closer, I think. All right. I'm going to glue these down because I'm going to lose these little bits that these are going to be the bottoms of the trees, like the trunks of the trees. So I'll put the greenery on the top. And then this one was a branch that I pulled out. I'm going to make a more predominant tree. And I'm not worried about covering up that part of the house too much. I cut one out in paper. What I did was, after I drew my house, I took a piece of tissue and I made a little pattern, and then I cut it out. And I think I'm going to use that for my house and then embellish it. I'm just going to set that to the side so it doesn't get lost. And I'm going to trim this a little more. And I'm going to let that also go over where the house will be. It's like I said, when the house sits on top of it, that'll push it back. I wish it would default to all and not top. All right, so those are glued down. So let me print. I don't have green ink. So what I thought I'd do was use my little jelly plate. As a palette. That's sap green. I'm going to use a little bit of pine green. Just a little bit just to brighten that up. All right, and then let's roll that out. Yeah, I wasn't sure if my brayer would give me enough contact, so I'm going to put the stamp on there. And then print that. Let's see how that works. Okay, that's a little light. I'm going to add a little yellow to that. I have distress ink in green, but I don't want to use an oxide or water. I want a permanent ink. So I just need to get me a green that I like. That's very light. But those should work. I'm gonna try. Is it a brown ink? See if I get a little more. Yeah, it's really not doing as well with the paint as it did with the. But let's stamp that some more. Let that's dry. I'm gonna put some cream. Actually, I'm gonna use the yellow ochre. And do a pickup with that. And this will go transparent when I use it. I'm letting that sit there for a few minutes. Okay, and then let's maybe have a gray. I'm going to use a gray and stamp on there with the ink. So I want more pattern to show up in these pieces. Okay, I like that. It's very subtle, but I'm just looking for some texture when I tear that up. Hey, Barbara. Yeah, 3:30 Eastern, which is the first one wouldn't let me in chat, so I had to set it up again. That's why there's the other one that's not live. How are you? I'm going to clean this off just a little bit because I used the paint. I definitely am going to order a stamp pad that's green. Sage or an olive green. That's permanent ink. Okay, so let's start with, I'm going to get some blue. This is just transparency that's been cut. And I'm going to use a little ultramarine. Now, salty ocean. And broken china, I think. I want this to be a bright sky. All right, so I am going to use just a piece of deli paper. I want like a mask. I don't want to get stuff on the bottom yet. So I use that kind of as a mask. All right, and I'm gonna put some of the oxide on the transparency. And I want a bigger brush real quick. Get some water and get my paper wet. Let them give the transparency just a little spray. Kind of mix that up a little bit. Just let that kiss. And I don't care if it goes on the house. Like I said, I have a house to put on there. And I'm going to get that extra color. I'm just going to put on this here. Just don't waste any of that ink. I can use that as a piece to jelly print on. I'm gonna I want a real soft sky. I may want a little more of this right here. That wet again. I'm going to use this tissue to kind of blot some of that. All right, let's set that to the side. Unwrap. All right, I did get a little. That's going to be green, so that's not really going to matter. And I want to get some of that blue behind the trees where I didn't get it. I'm just trying to layer some cloud-like. I think that'll work. Now I want to do something before I go to the greens. I'm going to take a white. I'm just adding a little white here and there, I think, just as a resist. I'm going to switch to my watercolor. My jelly plate up. No, just a 5. Well, it's going to go in a 5x7 mat. It's going to be about it's about 6x8 artwork, and then I'll mat it to sell in my Etsy store. And hi, Kat and Kathy and anyone else up in the clouds. All right, let's. Okay, so this is a dirt road. So I'm just going to go with a brown. For that right now. Just kind of let that. It's going to have green in the middle, but I just want to let some of that. I'm not going to worry too much. I'm going to. I don't mind if some of that brown shows up here and there. And this is olive green. And a little bit of Daniel Smith Serpentine, which is a granulating color. Just trying to get some base down. Right now. I'm going to do the flowers in acrylic. My resist marks are real light at this point. I didn't go real hard on that. Let's go with just a little bit darker, just to keep my lines. I got to decide where I want to put the paper in. Okay, I think that and I'm gonna put. Thanks, Kathy. I'm gonna try a little bit. I want that dirt road to be a little more of a pop. Okay, let's see. We'll let that dry. I am going to come back to the trees here in a minute, but let's see what we want to use. I think I'm going to use this. I'm just cutting the extra tissue off. This is exam paper, like when you go to the doctor's office and you sit at the office. Okay. Again, remember this is going to have wildflowers in here. So a lot of the green. Hi, Belinda. Hi, Devin. A lot of the wildflowers are going to cover up some of this, but I just like that texture of the print. And it's just glue stick right now, so there's nothing on top of it. And then I think I'm going to put a piece down across here. And trim. I'll trim that better later. And then I think I'm going to put that one up, and I'm going to use a little bit of this one. I just trim some of this extra. And I don't measure, I just tear a piece and then fiddle with it. I think I'm going to put that in there. This will go translucent where there's no paint. It just gives me a little pattern. Let me trim those. A little bit hanging off. And so far, all I've used is glue stick because I don't really want gel medium anywhere yet. Okay. Let's looking if I have a paint marker that's the right green. No, look for Posca color. Let's see if I have. Nope, I know what I can use and get dark enough. I can't. I want to get some of these areas a little more defined. So I want a little darker. I'm moving some of my stuff out of my way. I like to clean as I go. I'm going to use the ink tints. I just did all mine in my tray and labeled them because you can't always look. All right, I'm thinking either the iron green. I'm going to go leaf green. That's what I'm going to try. Light olive. I'm trying to find the right green. There it is, leaf green. I should put them in order in some kind of organized manner. Yeah, I think I'm going to get the tip wet. It's a dirt road, so there's grass growing in the middle. I'm also going to come up here and darken my lines. And I'm going to soften them. This brush is a little wet. And Inktense is permanent when dry. Okay, the other thing that I'm going to do is Trina, Mixed Media Art by Trina has been using the back of her X-Acto knife, but last night I used this to add some interest. I'm just going to scratch into the paper. Probably less likely to tear if it's not wet. Now I'm going to take my Inktense and put some on my brush. You'll settle in some of those scratches. You may not be able to see it on screen. So you can see right here, there's a little texture. I'm going to get a brown to use for the road. I think I'll use either, thinking mustard. And maybe saddle brown. Let me find the saddle brown. Willow. And I'm looking to see. There's saddle. And I'm going to sharpen the saddle. I want to get a little bit more of a finer tip. All right, I'm going to use the saddle on the edge. of the road. Use some of this mustard. I'm lifting some of that green, but I can put it back in. Come back with the green. Okay, those are good. I'm going to let those sit to the side. I'm thinking at this point, I want to work on the trees. I'm going to turn it upside down. Hi, Raul. Get my watercolor back. Now, another thing I will do sometimes if I like, I'm using the ink tints, is I will scribble on my, I have a old craft mat under this white one. And so over to the side, I can scribble and color some of the ink tints on my table. And I just kind of color some of that out on that rough surface. And then when I go in with a damp brush, I can pick up some of that color. The thing I do want to do with this, I'm going to add some more lines of maybe branches. That might show up. Again, I'm not worried about my house because I have a house that's going to go on top of it. All right, so I'm just trying to give some illusion of branches that'll show up. I'm just going to lightly set that. Just sprayed some water on it, and now I'm going to just kind of blot it a little bit. Get a paper towel. And that'll help set those brown lines a little. All right. This is the ink tints that I'm starting with. Some more down on the table. Get a little more water. Some more of that color. I'm going to come in with my other watercolors here in a minute. Let's go. All right, I want to go with, I'm going to go with the leaf green, which is a little brighter. I'll come back to let that kind of, I'll come back with the darker again. A little leaf green in there. Little areas that are a little brighter. Some of that won't show up, but all right, then I'm going to go back in with a darker green. Just trying to do some dots. This is the combination of Terra Verde and olive green, I think. I'm getting a little bit of both. There's another one in this corner. I don't know the name of it. I can't. I've been known to sometimes if I don't like use it a lot. Sometimes in these cells. I'll put two next to each other. Okay, that's good. I'm just going to come back in and put a little bit of an azo yellow in some places. I think that's all right. Trying to move some stuff. We'll get a drink of water real quick. Put the pencils up. Rinse the paint. How those watercolor brushes. Okay, set those to the side. I don't know what I'm ever going to do if this brush dies because you can't get it anymore. It's from Crafts, etc., which was owned by Ben Franklin's, which doesn't exist. My favorite brush. All right, let's glue our little house in. And it'll have more details in a little bit. Now I'm just trying to get it glued in. I'm going to try to soften this blue right here. Let's see if I can lift. Okay. Got some areas where I don't have enough blue like I'd like, so I'm just going to come in and get some cerulean blue. Maybe a little bit of cobalt. I just want to darken some of that area. You are going to see where the paper is, where that tissue is a little bit, but it's not real noticeable. Let's see if we can't. I'll try that. I'll probably hit that with a little white, maybe. Acrylic. Okay. And again, the house, I just drew my house and I put it on tissue and I cut it out. Let's see. I'm done with watercolor at this stage. So I'm going to put some gel medium. I need my house to have gel medium. I also don't like the tissue. To not be glued down securely. So I do always try to hit that. But I usually wait till I'm done because it will leave that area. But the next step is going to be acrylic paints, essentially. Okay. Gonna let that dry. I'm going to hit this with some pit pens, but I like to work over the dry gel medium because then I have flexibility. I'm going to come in with some white for some clouds. And I'm just going to use my Catalyst brush. In my finger. I just want to add some areas of interest. And that'll help. I think that's good. All right. I'm going to give that a little dry because if I hit a pit pen with that being wet, it will kill that pen. So give me just a second. Okay, that's good. So now I need to get pit pins. Brown. Kind of yellow ochre. Black. Looking for some the dark gray. Should have pulled these out earlier. Sorry. There we go. Trying to find a black and a brush. Yep. There's brush black. Okay. So first of all, I'm going to come in and darken this brush is acting like it's this one's dead, but I have a big one of the same color. To the stage where I have to replace some of these. Oh, I know what that's mean. Okay, let's go with the dark brown. There we go. Okay. I think that helps the trees a little. And I'm gonna just kind of smear some of that and blot because I don't think the gel medium was up in there. So if I had the gel medium, I could blend it with my finger more, but I don't think I put the gel medium up in there. I just want to soften some of that. Okay, so let's go with the first thing I want to do is I think I want to get a piece of paper that I'm going to get a piece of paper. I'm going to use my pattern and I'm going to cut a piece of this to be the roof, to start the roof. So I'm just going to take my pattern and use it to paper piece. And I often do this with my patterns and cut them apart. If you don't want to cut them apart, make a copy or several copies. Okay. Just to save time, I'm going to put some gel medium on the front of that and let it dry before I glue it to the house. That'll save some time. And then I'll glue it in just a minute. Okay. That's approximately where the house is. Okay, so let's go with this side of the fireplace is a little darker. Then I'm going to add the so if you draw a line and then you use your finger, you can pull away, you can kind of create some shadow effects. But you can only do that if you're using the gel medium. Okay. Just trying to define the edges. I think okay. And let's add. This is a gray. Again, doesn't work. Sorry if I get quiet. Thanks, Devin. Also pick up with wet wipe, or because I'm in a little space, I'm going to use like a tiny Q-tip. I don't want to totally obliterate the paper I used. All right, so I'm going to go in and just put some windows. I want to remove some of that window there, this side. Do it again. Come in with this roof line. And I'm going to hit it with a little bit of black at the top. And then come back with this tip and kind of blend it. So it has more of a line. All right, and then let's glue our paper down. Need to nip the okay. I'm going to come in and that marker still had some of that black. Use that black across the top again. It's not like that. This does not have that great of a coat of gel medium because I'm rushing it. Okay, so I think for our purposes, that house will be fine. Let me put the gel pens up. I really need to replace all 72. Now, I'll seal that with gel medium just so that layer of color, it is permanent when it dries, but that way the layer of color is like underneath and it won't scratch off because that's, in fact, I'm gonna. I'm gonna get a green too while I have it out. Okay, I like that. When you are working with your fingers and you switch colors before you blend with your finger, do make sure you clean your fingers. All right. Hi, Beth. Add just a little bit to that road where we put the green. And I'm going to cover our house and our shadow. Where we put in that tree. Now, if you want to add more watercolor to something like this, then you would want to use like clear gesso to seal it so you could add more watercolor. But I'm done with the watercolor. Okay. Let's let that dry real quick. I'm going to put these brushes up. Hi, is it Eddie? All right, so there's our house off into the distance. And I'm going to dry that real quick. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I want to add some marks in some places. to get some more texture before I don't need pink. I want that color. I don't need blue. I want the black. I need to add to that green. That might work. Yeah, I have a better green. So let me show you how I make these real quick. So I'm going to use this green. Well, I'm going to use a variety. So I take a piece of deli paper. And these are oil pastels. And I just color on the deli paper. This is not the deli. I just use this for like when I'm jelly printing. This is the really waxy kind. I'm just trying to hit some different greens in some different areas. Can even add some yellow. And I have a darker green. I'm limited to what's here. Here's kind of a lime. Now, I'm going to add, and this is going to sound crazy, but I'm going to add some black in here and then come back with that green because I want some areas that are darker. On my paper and some areas that are brighter. And I want a good layer. Okay. Stick all my greens in one place. Yellow back over here. Usually I do 3. I'll make one over here. This is one I use a lot. You can add white to a color too, if you need to. And just come back and blend it. And like I said, these are the oil pastels. They are not water soluble. They will move a little with water. I'm just going to add a little black there. To get even a darker area. All right, and then the last one I'm going to do is just a black. And sometimes I will add gray into that. So maybe I don't want it as harsh. Put those away. I'm going to set these aside because these are the colors I really want. I like to cut these apart. So I'm only dealing with one color at a time. Yeah. So I'm going to use this green, and I'm going to use the dotting tools, and I'm using the really small ones for this. I'll hold it up in just a minute. So you can see what I'm doing is adding in some scribble marks. I'm using that darker. And I like to put them here and there. I like them where the transitions go. I'm going to take okay. I'm going to add a few. Yeah, I love this technique. It's so simple. Those are too thick to use to get little details, but I can get such a variety of marks. I'm just adding some darker ones in. Kind of like tufts of grass. When I put in the flowers, it will make sense. Okay, and then I'm going to hit, there's a few areas. I'm going to get my brush damp. I don't want a whole lot of water. I want to, you can kind of move them and blend them. If it's wet, you'll get little areas too that'll come off. So I kind of want to bring this out to be the, trying to get the chimney. Okay. I think that's enough of those. And like when they get bald spots, just add more. Yeah, yeah, and you're not tearing your paper up. But I will say, when my paper's not super wet, this made a really good scratch. Like super easy to scratch. I was looking for my X-Acto knife and I couldn't find it. Sometimes I use these to scratch the really fine point, or I have an awl that I can scratch with too. It just sometimes depends the paper that I'm using. All right, I gotta put that brush up. All right, I'm gonna use the dotting tools to do my flowers. So I'll use that one right here and probably this one. These I don't want. Oh, this one might be a good one. These I want a variety of sizes. All right, and I'm going to use 2 colors of blue. I need a red. Give me just a second, because the Indian paintbrush is kind of a red orange, and I used up all my red that I had. There's orange. Okay, so I'm going to use a blue violet and an ultramarine blue. That's going to be my Bluebonnet color. And then I'm going to use orange flame and naphthol red. And that will be my Indian paint flower. I'm just going to move this. This is just like a little silicone mat. When I got my wax stamped set, I ordered some of these because I was just trying to, and I like it. You can even like peel off after it gets to a certain stage. It gets thick enough, I'll peel and use paint skins off of it. But you can just peel it off when you want to clean it. But I started using that as my palette. So, and I'll probably get some white out on the too, to use with the Bluebonnets. And I'm just putting a little bit of paint on the mat. Put the Bluebonnets over on one side, thinking the white might be good for some highlights. And the Indian paintbrush will be the orange and the red, because they're a kind of a coral color. Might do a little yellow with them as a highlight. Okay. So now I have to decide where I want so I'm just going to let some red sit in the areas where I want the Indian paintbrush to be. And in Texas in the spring, like it covers the field. Now, Bluebonnet margarine. Yeah, well, here you think wildflowers. I'm going to let that red kind of sit there for a little bit. And then I'll come back in with some orange. I think I'm going to come back with the smaller one with the orange. This orange is a lot thinner. In fact, I'm going to add a little of that red to it to thicken it up a little. Okay. And then I'm going to come in with some yellow too, probably. And I'm going to add some yellow with that orange. I don't think I want to use just yellow itself. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit of white to that yellow and orange mixture. Okay. It's got to be kind of a reddish peach color. Yeah, I like doing these like interesting like layers. Some of them have been really almost abstract, where You know it's a landscape, but not necessarily. I just wanted this one to be more distinct. I think I'm going to go back to this other. I like these dotting tools better. I can get more. Paint on them. That's going to be not in the picture. Okay, then the other thing I'm going to do is cover up the sky and that area. And I'm going to get a brush and some water. When I hit that orange, that's real thin anyways. And I'm just going to splatter. I'm even going to splatter in the area where the blue bonnets are going to be. Oh, let's go to the blue bonnets. Side. All right. I don't want to lose my lines of distinction. So definitely don't want to do that. I'm going to work my way back. And I will splatter the paint for the blue too when I'm done. And they're kind of more like in a cluster. And I'll definitely want to use that smaller tool too at some point. If you're good with your blue, I learned that I was reading a book the other day, and it was talking about what was a murder mystery, and Bluebonnet was one of the uh, things that told them where the bank robbers buried the loot. But I didn't know that when the after the flowers bloom, I mean, I know they go to seed, but if you like plow it under and really work the ground, it will spread the blue flowers, the blue bonnets. And at one time they were endangered, which is why you're not allowed in Texas to pick blue flowers. Why they're you're protected. I don't think legally they're protected as much anymore, but it takes a lot of years to actually get the wildflowers to grow in a garden. I haven't said them yet. Okay, so my announcement is two things. One, I received an email to submit work for a gallery in a little town called Granbury, which is kind of a little antique. There's a lake, a lot of tourism goes through in there, and she's opening a new location and moving, so she had more space. And so I sent, I'd made a PowerPoint of a bunch of different work because I didn't know what she wanted. The bunnies, the abstract, the landscapes. I didn't know what would fit in her gallery, you know. So I haven't heard, I just sent that yesterday. So hopefully she'll tell me what pieces she wants. And they'll do that. The other thing I've decided to do is Bob wanted to explore drop shipping. And we looked at drop shipping and what it involved. And I just was like, I don't want to buy stuff from AliExpress. How do you compete with? And why do I want to buy products like that have nothing to do with me? And when you're drop shipping, you don't have an inventory. You basically list it in your store on Amazon, people buy it, and the company that you have the partnership with ships it. So you don't have to pack it. You have to deal with returns, but not horrible. But like I said, I just didn't like what we saw. So I had told Bob that I was probably more interested in print on demand. So I have been binging videos and really kind of exploring, learning how to use Canva and other tools. So I'm going to add print on demand t-shirts and other items, sweatshirts, t-shirts, pillows, whatever, you know, with my art. Sometimes some just designs, not necessarily my art, just designs that I've made, and sell them in my Etsy store. And so I'm going to do that under the name Summersweet Studios. And I've got 4 listed already. They're hard to get to show up on Etsy at this point still because I don't have enough. I really kind of figured out a lot when I was learning, like, it's not my SEOs that are the problem. With my art not showing up, it's not just free shipping. Part of it is I don't offer enough pictures. But like when you're doing something like this, there's only so many pictures you can take. And I don't have enough product like some of the other people do that are selling, well, the print on demand. So I'm going to, if you're looking for something, I would recommend searching the tag Summersweet Studios or Debbie Epps. It would be more likely to come up. Like I said, I haven't designed a lot yet. I'm waiting. I ordered one. There's two companies. One is called Printful, and the other one is Printify. And I've heard yay and nay on both. So I wanted to get an actual sample before I committed to one or the other. All right, now I'm going to switch to the lighter color. So I'm going to get that this next week, and I'll show it next weekend on the stream. But I want to see print sample from the one that I thought I was going to use. But I'm still not determined for sure. And I got to make designs. But, you know, they're like, make 500 Christmas designs. Make that you should have like 1,000 t-shirts or items in your shop. Otherwise, you're not going to get any real traction in the search engines. So those were the two. I'm adding some white to this blue. I want to try to get a lighter, like a lavender version in some areas. But I really like that bright blue more. And I probably need to switch to the smaller. Let me switch to that. I have another blue that might be good. Cerulean. I'll try this. Some of this sap. This is cerulean, and this is sapphire blue. Adding some ultramarine to that. But that was my announcements. Yeah, that makes a good middle. Right. When I get down here to the bottom, I definitely want to go bigger. You could even use like a purple, or I'm just trying to switch it up. Just trying to vary the colors. And thanks, Devin. Just trying to add some areas that kind of maybe even connect. I have some. Going in the dirt. Okay, I think that's pretty good. I'm going to do some splatters here in a minute. So I think it's easier to get some of that small. Let's cover up a little bit of that bright blue. Let's cover up this sky again in the house. Get some water on that brighter blue. I'll get some in that. Then I'm going to add some water to the white and get kind of a bright lavender color. Kind of. A little bit of the yellow mixed in with kind of that lavendery color. Look like leaves. I think I'm going to go in with some Just alternating. Okay, now let's taking some out of the road. Trying to make it like more red and like larger. Need areas that are bigger in the. Okay, now I'm gonna go back in the lightest. I just want a heavier field and close up. That'll be off anyway, so I'm not worried about that. I think I'm going to leave it at that. All right, let's let that dry. I had white paper. This is just a piece of white paper. I lay it to the side. I'm just trying to use up that paint. I'm not going to use this piece of paper whole. I would just maybe pick a color out that fit what I'm doing. Okay. That to the side. Like I said, this is another example of one of those. And I'll just let that dry. And then I'll need something red, or I'll want something in one of these colors. And I'll use a scrap. Clean my mat. Trying to clean some of those bottles up before I put them back. I'm bad about not doing that. And then sometimes I don't want to close. Okay. This needs to dry a little. Let's dry it, give it a little. Bye, Devin. Hi, Megan. It's pretty dry. I did notice there's some flowers on my house, some little splatters. So I'm gonna, because it's got that gel medium, I can take the splatters off, but I'm not gonna disturb the pit pins because they're under that gel medium layer. They're trapped between those two layers of gel medium. All right, so that's good. I had a mat. the black paper is just so that when I turn it over to tape it, I don't get stuff from my mat on the frame on the front. I have learned that the hard way. Okay, I'm going to go with that right there. And what I do is have artist tape. It's not regular masking tape, it's artist tape. It's kind of a crepe, but it's not, it's archival, where I don't think all of your masking tape, and I like to tape it on all four sides. And I did gesso the back of my watercolor paper, not the front. I just gessoed the back. That can help it with the buckling, so it doesn't buckle as bad. Now, if you're using not a water base and you're using all acrylic and you're collaging and using all acrylics, you can gesso both sides. But when I'm going to use, when I want the front to absorb the water base, I just gesso the back. All right. I'm not too unhappy with that. It might need a little more light lavender here and there, like some, just like a little bit of the ultramarine blue with the white. Even that's not. Use that other dotting tool. In some of these areas where that'll give it a little more distinction. Lighten it in a few areas. I mean, you could go back and forth, adding dark, adding light. Now I'm just adding some of the close-up darks. I'm just varying my touch so I can leave some littler dots and some bigger dots in the same area. So I think that helped, because those flowers up front should have more definition. But that is it for me today. It's time to start thinking about fixing dinner. Uh, Tomorrow is work on print on demand stuff. Like I said, I have, well, 3 designs and 4 t-shirts, but I'm working on more. And one of my niches, because they always talk about like not just doing generic, is I'm going to niche down and do a lot that have to do with crafting. So sayings and maybe my art plus a saying that that you wouldn't necessarily find, like jelly printing or slow stitch or things that people that don't do what we do, mixed media, that they would find a t-shirt in that niche rather than just the generic craft. So if you're looking on Etsy, if you search Summersweet Design, there's, like I said, not much there. I'll show you the shirt I get next Friday when I stream on Saturday, so that you can kind of see, you can look at it and see what the quality is. And I should know about the gallery by then too. So thanks for hanging out. Hope you have a wonderful Saturday. Don't forget, Beth is coming on. She just went live. So hop on over to Beth. Have a good day.